Yo guys, what's good? It's your boy Tacho here, and we're back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, so today we got our copy of Resplendent Niles, to those of you out there that own the Fey Pass. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about him today, and he's got a really awesome artwork, to be honest, compared to the last Resplendent hero that we had. This is definitely an upgrade, I think. And he looks very similar to the Niles that we had in Fire Emblem Warriors, as well as a combination of the Halloween Niles. So it's like the best of all of the Niles put together, I think. So pretty awesome stuff. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the artwork for Niles, but I think this is really good. And also the Muspell attire fits him pretty well. So definitely some good stuff here. And if we go ahead and take a look at his base kit, he comes with Niles' bow, which is basically -1 special trigger, and then it also has the Shining Bow effect, which is going to deal +7 true damage to the foes, assuming that that foe has 5 more points in defense than res. So it's a pretty easy way for him to gain some true damage, which is much needed because this guy has a freaking base 25 attack. Well, base 27 after he got +2 to everything from the Resplendent ult. And he does have a super boon in attack as well, so that's definitely something you're going to want to consider. He also comes with Iceberg, Warding Blow 3, and Spur Res 3. So in other words, up until this point, this guy was mainly just fodder for Iceberg. I don't really think too many people were building him seriously, at least not before he got his refine. So, unfortunate for Niles, but at least he's a unit that we like to summon because Iceberg is a pretty good skill. So him and units like Hinata and stuff are never a bad unit to summon. And as I was talking about before, he does have a super boon in attack, so you probably just want to go plus attack. Having base 27 attack is definitely a no-no, so you don't want to be stuck with that. He does get the true damage from his weapon though, so it does help out, like I said, and it makes his attack stat a little bit deceptive. Also, he does some serious damage when he triggers special attacks, so you don't have to worry too much about his attack being low. The only thing that really sucks is that we're not able to go plus speed here. Well, I guess you could go plus speed if you wanted, but I mean, do you really want to stay with plus 27 attack? Probably not. So you definitely want to have the attack boon here. Okay, so for our budget build on Niles, we're going for the special refine on Niles' bow. Basically, it just gives him access to Flashing Blade. So a very sick combination of skills on this weapon. Even by today's standards, it's not too shabby for a refine. So -1 special trigger, the Shining Bow effect for +7 true damage, as well as Flashing Blade. So it's very easy for him to ramp into special attacks, and that's exactly what we're going for with this lame cookie cutter build that is just recommended for basically every budget offensive unit. So Fury 3, Desperation 3, and Brazen Attack and Speed 3. Basically the tried and true combo for any offensive unit. I can't believe we still don't have any better budget skills for offense. Well, more so, I think we need them for bait units, because bait units are just completely out of luck if they need to run a budget build. So, you know what I think would be really good? If they refuse to give us any good skills in the 4-star pool for these bait units, the least they could do is throw us a bone and make Distant Counter a Sacred Seal. But I guess the only problem with that is that Distant Counter would actually be way better as a Sacred Seal, because the A-slot passives have gotten so out of hand at this point. Being able to have, like, Distant Counter in the Seal and then combo it with, I don't know, like Bracing Stance 3 or Distant Defense 4 or something like that would just be completely bananas for these bait units to have. So that's probably why they don't want to do that. And maybe you could make the argument that the game would make less money as well if Distant Counter was so readily available that it was a Sacred Seal. But come on, like, look at the latest Grand Hero battle we got. So, Kalik, this guy, they weren't even kind enough to give him Guard 3 as a 4-star summon. So, they obviously have absolutely no intentions of giving us better skills anytime soon, which is very unfortunate. But basically, the budget build for Niles is the classic budget build, and his weapon is very good for making use of Fury 3 and Desperation, because if he hits the foes twice in a row, he's going to clap him with Iceberg on that second attack, and his Icebergs hurt really bad, because the one cool thing about Niles is that his res stat is really up there. There's not a lot of units from day one that have res stats this high, so that is definitely cool about him. And finally, for our high investment build on Niles, we're basically just using the exact same strategy here with an A-slot passive that's going to make us take chip damage in attack and speed push 4. And we've got Desperation and Brazen attack and speed as well. But of course, we have Deadeye this time around, which is going to be a pretty cool special attack for him. Now, the good thing about Deadeye is that it's actually going to calculate in the damage bonus he's getting from his weapon. So if you're triggering that +7 true damage, Deadeye is going to absolutely enjoy that. Alright, now looking at his stats here, this is not really the most flattering of stats. For a Resplendent hero, this is definitely not good enough, I think. So why don't we make Niles look a whole lot better for those Nile enthusiasts out there, and let's give him some complete investment and take a look at his stats now. So with +10 merges, +15 dragon flowers, and the summoner support, that's definitely looking a whole lot better if you ask me. We're at a nice even 45 base speed and then 45 base res. That res stat is just completely titanic. So if you wanted to, you'd be free to run Iceberg or Glacies on this guy, and maybe you could argue that Glacies and Iceberg would be a little bit more consistent overall as damage special attacks than Deadeye. But Deadeye definitely has its uses, because there's so many units in the game that have damage reduction now, and particularly the ones that have damage reduction built into their perf weapons. If you take a look at most of those units, they typically have way more defense than res. So units like Brave Ike and the Edelgard units and the Dimitri units, their defenses are way higher than their res stats. So if Niles is fighting against them, he's going to get that +7 true damage, and he's going to get Deadeye. So it's really good in those matchups. But again, if you want a little bit more consistency, I guess Glacies would probably be the better option. And if you are going to run Glacies on him, then because it's a 4-hit cooldown special, you're not going to be able to activate it immediately by just attacking the foes twice in a row with Desperation. So what you'd probably want to do is swap out Desperation and go for Lull Speed and Defense instead. I think that's probably a better call. Now, the bad thing, though, about doing that is if Niles is attacking the foes and he does not have the ability to hit them twice in a row, he's going to be on the receiving end of some counterattacks, and his physical bulk isn't really the best. So the Glacies special is going to make him burn out a whole lot faster than just running Deadeye with Desperation. So pick and choose whichever combo of skills you personally feel like is going to be better. For shorter fights, maybe like if you have him on an Aether Raid's defense setup, Glacies is probably going to be a little bit better. But then again, I mean, Deadeye is still very good in Aether Raids on a defense team. Most people are going to try to run damage reduction in some form in there. So Deadeye being a complete counter pick to damage reduction definitely gives it some merits. And that's just about all we can do with Niles. I'm not going to recommend any bait builds for this guy because I really don't think this is the bow unit that you want to do that with. If you're going to run a completely different bow, like maybe Spendthrift or Helm Bow or something like that, and then maybe give him like Close Foil and such, you're probably way better off just running Norn instead. So I can't recommend in good conscience a bait build on a unit like Niles when I don't really think he's the best bow unit for the job. So just keep that in mind. when you're using Niles, you'll definitely want to play to his strengths, and he does have a very good perf weapon, so I think that's what you want to focus on with him. And it looks like our next Resplendent hero is going to be the adorable Delthea. Now, this is a fairy Resplendent hero done right, if you ask me. They made Delthea just look downright cute, compared to Lucina, who I don't think should have looked cute at all. If they were going to do a Resplendent fairy alt for Lucina, the least they could do was at least make her look like an adult, because she is an adult. But in the case of Delthea, I mean, she always gives off the vibe that she's some cute and cuddly little girl. So giving her the fairy attire, I think, is a good fit. And this is probably the first fairy Resplendent art so far that I'm actually down with. So let me know in the comments section down below what your thoughts are on Resplendent Delthea. And who do you think is going to be the next Resplendent hero after this? I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts on that. But that's pretty much all for today's video. So hope you guys enjoyed seeing the builds for Niles. And maybe some of you Niles enthusiasts out there are going to build them up. So that's all for now. And this is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, fellas. And I will catch y'all again on the flip side.